Yesterday we did the Mishnah on the bottom of Lamed Dalet Amud Beis, and just to go over it again, we're up to Esrog. This is the last of the Dalet Minim. And again, Esrog and Gozel Vayabesh is possible. Gozel, we said because of Lachem, and the first day surely is possible. The rest of the days, the Gemara Melchok is about Mitzvah Bavera. Yavesh, the Gemara said because of Hodor. We found out every those that is kosher, but we paskin that Yavesh is possible. You do need Hodor. Shalashem Shalini Dachas. The Gemara is going to say, as I said before, because Ksusim Mechta Shireh, since it has to be burned, so it's considered that there's no shir over there. Shal this is new. Shal Orla is possible. We didn't have it till now because there were no fruit trees until now, so there's no Orla. But by us Esrog, which is a fruit tree, a fruit, so if it's the first 3 years, so it's usher to eat it. Also, the Gemara is going to say it's also usher to benefit from it. We'll see what the criteria is over here, and therefore it's possible. Shal Truma Tmei possible. And Rashi says the Gemara is going to explain everything, so we'll leave it for the Gemara already. Why should Truma Tmei be possible? Truma again means that you give to the Kohen the Truma, and only Kohen is allowed to eat it. If it comes Tamei, then even the Kohen is not allowed to eat it. Shall Truma Tahora Lo Yito not al kosher. If it's Truma Tahora that the Kohen is allowed to eat, so then the Chatchila don't take it. We don't know why yet. But the B'yevet, if someone did use it, it is Yotzei. It's only some Issur Rabbanan to take it. But if he did use it for the mitzvah, so he is Yotzei. And the Gemara is going to explain everything. Shel Tamai. Tamai we said is when you bought produce from Amoritz who says that he was Maaser, he tied, but we don't trust that he did it properly. So the Machlokes, if the Gemara is going to say, it's depending on the Machlokes, if an onion is allowed to eat it. If a poor person, did they Rabbanan, they said don't eat it. Tied again. But is there any have to eat it at all? So we'll see the Gemara. V'shami poslam b'sel machshin machlokes if you can be yotzi with such an esrog. Shamash Sheni b'Yerushalayim. Shamash Sheni, as we know, he's supposed to eat in Yerushalayim. There are different types this person takes. The Truma goes to the Kohen. Ma'aser Rishon goes to the Levi. Ma'aser Sheni goes to yourself in Yerushalayim. It's Kodesh.
We did it yesterday.
And yeah, it's Kodesh, and you have to eat it in Yerushalayim. So here the question is in Yerushalayim. Rashi says if it's out of Yerushalayim, then you're not allowed to eat it, and then surely you're not Yotzei. We'll see this whole sugya in the Gemara. They have to be able to eat it. It has to be edible. But in Yerushalayim that you may eat it, is it kosher? So it says lo yito v'em not kosher. Lachatchila again, the same as it says by Truma Torah. Don't take it lachatchila, but it's only Rabbanan, and therefore if you did take it, you are Yotzei the mitzvah. It's very vague the whole thing because we don't know what the criteria is. But wait for the Gemara. Once we have the Gemara, we'll be able to go over the Mishnah again, and everything will make sense. The rest of the Mishnah talks about different kinds of call it blemishes. Also chazaz is al ribo. So chazaz, as Rashi says, is kind of ababuot, some kind of a blister, which you don't see in the shuk. When you go to the market, Srogim, you don't see any chazazes. So whatever it is, some kind of a disease that spreads on the esrog. So if it's on rubo, then it's possible. If it's spread out most of the esrog, then it's possible. You're surely not going to find that in the shuk. They're not going to bring it to the market.
Those little dots, you've seen them.
So they say the dots are not a chazazes at all.
Oh, really?
It's not a chazaz. If anything, it's called a change of color, and you have to know why should a change of color be a pasol and esrog.
Excuse me, Rebbe.
Please. Oh, welcome back. Shalom, shalom.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be back. I'm sorry I'm a couple of minutes late. Are you on your Lamed Dalet Amud Beis or somewhere else?
Yes, yeah, Lamed Dalet Amud Beis, the bottom Mishnah, esrog.
Okay, now I see where it is. Lo Yitol. Thank you.
Okay. So now about a chazazes. So it's some kind of a disease that's on the esrog, and if it went on rubo, most of the esrog then is possible. And the Mishnah is going to say that if it's only miyuto, then it's going to be kosher. Nitla pitmoso. So what does a pitta mean? Rashi has a big issue what pitta means, but we'll take it simple. Well, we know what pitta means. That it means the stick that comes out on top of the esrog. We'll see more as we get further, and also in the halacha what is considered the pittim exactly. But if the pittim came off, it's going to be possible. Niklaf, if it was peeled, I don't think it means that you took out the white. There's the yellow membrane, and then there's the white, which is really the pulp, and then there's going to be the Chadri Azera. So really, we think of a esrog like we think of an orange, and the juicy part is the food, and the peel that you take off goes in the garbage. But really, the esrog, the real meat of the esrog is the white part. And you go to get
You would make the eights on the white part. If
yeah. Shown here, I think one of the Yemenite members of the community. So he tells all the Ashkenazim, that's an esrog. You can't eat it. Let me see eat your Ashkenazi esrog. But you take the Yemenite esrogim, so then he gave out pieces of the white, and it's very edible. So that's real. The Gemara calls that the meat. The meat of the esrog is the white part. And the inside is only called the Chadri Zera. It's called only the place where the seeds are. compartment for the seeds.
You
So-
did it without cooking it?
Yeah, he just sliced it. And,
You know, there's a lot of rye's in nature, like oranges and peaches, where the basar is the fruit.
no, peaches is not like that. Peaches,
Well, I'm thinking, okay,
Oranges, it's only what orange. It's not like Esther. That's the Rabbi said. It's
so
different.
Chaim Dov is saying that. Look at compare.
In nature, you don't eat the orange peel, you eat the orange.
Yeah, but he's saying different.
If you look, yeah, he's saying. Chaim Dov is saying it should be the same. It should be the same.
Why we do
It should be
that.
the same. Chaim Dov is saying probably it's the same. Probably don't say that estrog is different than an orange.
Ah,
There
They
you go.
citrus, they both citrus fruits, so I'd assume it's the same thing. Here, according to.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
okay.
and in the Yemenite estrogim, the white is the majority part of it, and the chad rezer is very small.
I also
Very
saw
small.
Also in our fruits.
how much?
You cut it down the middle. after
Most of it is the
Pesach,
most of it is the
after
white.
Sukkot. Right away.
Okay, the way then nowadays our estrogim we can't eat it. They're not really edible. But
If you cook it
There's-
very well, you can eat it. You cook it for a long
What
time.
you're eating is the sugar.
No, I ate it.
Sugar.
I ate the thing without sugar. But I had to cook it for a long time.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's makes it.
What you're not allowed to eat is the skin outside because it's full of chemicals.
Mm.
Pesticides.
Okay,
Different-
so just to
different-
get it, how do we get into this? Niklaf. I just wanted to say that niklaf means the l'chora doesn't mean that you took off the whole white. It means you took off the yellow membrane. That's what
Right,
niklaf means.
That's what I would have thought.
But he said
That's the outer skin that you hold in your hand.
you wouldn't have said that. You would have said if I say peel and orange, you're not going to take off the orange membrane.
No, but when I think about a stroke, I think about the white. That's what I don't
That's
want.
what I was trying to say. And you were saying no.
No, I'm just saying in terms of.
What is the meat of this rug? If you say peel and
That's
orange,
a good question.
no, so that's what I'm trying to
Yeah,
say.
so
That
that's a
if you
good
say peel and
question.
orange, you take off the white.
No, I'm
And you
thinking
just
about
have
the
with-
hydros and mitzvahs.
no,
Once
no,
you
no,
once
talking
you
about-
see
we're
yellow
talking-
becomes white, you're saying that I
Yeah,
was.
you're going already that you know things, but without knowing things, you're saying niklaf, you peel and orange, you peel and this rug, so you would have said.
I see.
So I'm saying
Yeah, I hear
peeling,
what you're saying.
merely that peeling means taking off the membrane because the meat is the white part.
Okay, so I understand what
Okay, so I think you agree over here. Nizdak, if the esrog was split, some kind of crack. Nike, b'chosakolshu. Rashi says, you read it together. Nike b'chosakolshu, that it was pierced and it's also missing something. The Mishnah is going to say soon that if it was pierced but it wasn't missing anything, so then just the hole alone doesn't make it possible, only because it's missing something. So Nike so far is really not a point. If it was pierced, but that piercing caused that it should be missing some part of the esrog, that makes it possible. Period. Now it's going to say the contrast of all these things, or some of them. Also, chazaz damayuto. If this disease only spread on a minority of the esrog, or nutalukso dukis is going to be the stem, the bottom of the esrog, then it's going to be kosher. If it got a hole, but even though it got a hole, but it didn't miss anything, nothing, no essence of the esrog is missing, kosher. Esrog akushi pasal, a black esrog. Rashi says that it grows in Ethiopia. Black esrogim. I don't know if they know nowadays either that it grows. And someone told me that the reason why we not put on the black dots is only because it is esrog akushi. That even if
Yeah, I'm wondering about that.
even though it's not a black
so
esrog, but
minimal.
even a small dot. So I would think that a small dot is not esrog akushi. It's not even a zecher of esrog akushi. But if there's no place in the Gemara where it talks about a discoloration besides this, and here it says that a black esrog is possible, and maybe we want to learn out that even a small dot. I don't know, but that's what people
Very
take on.
machmir. People are very
Yeah,
machmir.
could be that. It's not such an issue.
I do have pictures. I don't know if you want to finish the Mishnah, but I do have pictures today if you want to see.
Okay, well, good. Hayora Kikasi, green like a leek. But Meir Machshav viewed the postal, so we said a couple of pages ago that the reason I viewed holds that as possible, first the Gemara thought because Hadar, it's not Hadar if it's green, and then the Gemara says if you holds you don't need Hadar. And the reason why it's possible according to view is because it's not ripe enough yet. And the post will talk about how come people take green as rogim, you should have to take it's green. And they talk about the fact that it could become ripe if you would leave it then it's good enough maybe. But someone pointed out that maybe it's still not considered hadar because the Gemara said that being a green esrog, even if it's besides the issue of ripeness, there also might be an issue of hadar. Maybe it'd be a model to take a yellow esrog, not a green one. Shir esrog hakatan, the smallest size of an esrog, or me'am kegos, Rabbi Yehuda kebetz, so a meh is big enough, as a walnut is good enough. Rabbi Yehuda says no, it has to be the size of an egg. Again, the Gemara before discussed is the reason of Rabbi Yehuda because it's not hadar. And the Gemara says again that Rabbi Yehuda you don't need hadar. And it comes out, the reason why it's possible is because it's not ripe enough. It has to be the size of an egg in order to be considered ripe. Over gadol, and the maximum size, only if you could hold two of this size, you only have one, but two of this size would be able to be held in one hand. And the Gemara again before thought the reason is because of hadar. If it's too big, it's not nice. But the Gemara says no, that's not the reason. Rabbi Yehuda holds you don't need hadar. The reason why it's possible is because you have to be able to maneuver the esrog and the lulav. If you have it in the wrong hand, you might have to be able to switch it. Have to be able to switch it around. So don't get such a big one, which you might drop. Rabbi Yossi Amar Afilu Echad B'Shnei Yadav.
Everything at the lodge.
Right.
Get it in the lodge.
And the verse says there's no maximum. Afilu Echad B'Shnei Yadav. Even if you have one esrog as big as and holding it in two hands like a watermelon, it's also
Like
kosher.
Teimanim, they hold by Rabbi Yossi.
And that's how we pass it. We pass it that there's no maximum. Yes, we have big esrog, beautiful. One in two hands, two in one hand. I don't get it, but size of a walnut.
Yeah, look at that.
It looks
Why
like-
is he using
No, it looks like it's just some
compare?
photo. They didn't get the esrog here. I'm not sure if it's really the size of the walnut. Maybe.
No, they made it.
They just they made the walnut. This is very the
They do
green
real
esrog. In the market, there are many green esrog, but not so simple. Not so simple that a green esrog should be
There's much more green than the one.
Should be what? Should be
okay.
possible.
But I think it's not hoda. It's not hoda if it's green, and that makes sure that
I heard Rav Stefanski was saying when it comes to green, the thing to be careful of is if it would ripen during Sukkot, then it would be okay. But if at the end of Sukkot it's still green, then someone would be in trouble.
I don't think it has to do with sukkahs. It could, if it ripens eventually, is also doesn't have to do that with sukkahs. But I
Oh, you mean even if it ripened 10 days later, it would still be, then it would have been okay because it was still ripening.
yes, but there is something which does not ripen and become yellow. So how can people assume that theirs is going to ripen? I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what he said. Be very careful. Mhm.
Also, and also the other point is also a nice point that even if it does, that only takes care of the ripening part. But the other thing is that it's not hodar. That still sounds like it's still a good time. The Gemara held that that green is not hodar. If you told us you don't need hodar, but we already do need hodar. So it would be lachara very lachatchila to take yellow esrogim.
To take green.
But many people try and avoid a very yellow esrogim because it can can become brown during Sukkot.
During brown, it's not so terrible if it becomes brown. It could be that it's being used, and they say from the Chassam Sofer that Adrabah that's considered beautiful, they're using it for the mitzvah. Someone told me the reason why people don't like yellow esrogim is because the black dots are more noticeable. But it could be they're being too machmir in the yellow and the black dots and not being machmir in the yellow esrog. Maybe it's better to be machmir more to get a yellow esrog than to worry about the small black dots. Okay, and we'll get into it eventually. There's this. What is that? The hole?
That's the black dot.
No, that's
Oh,
chassid
that's
culture.
the actual hole.
Neck of a chassid culture. That's missing something.
Ah.
You see, it's
That's
missing.
a bad drawing, terrible drawing.
They didn't do it. They made a hole in it. They made a hole in Ezra. And this
Yeah,
is a split. This is
That's
this
for
duck.
sure.
This duck.
That's
Yes, you call
bad.
it.
That's a bad.
And what is this? Niklaf. That is supposed to be peeled. This is peeling it over here.
That's a little knife. That's a screwdriver. Once,
Okay.
Rebbe, once I was holding a sukkah in my hand in sukkahs, and a bee came onto and I was just, holding it in the upper minute. I was doing the mitzvah, and it started, hanging out on my. I said, look, I'm not bothering it. It doesn't even bother me. After davening, I started to see that wherever it was, it had chirped. It chewed away
Uh-huh.
from the yellow.
Maybe it's
Yeah, this, I don't think here that he's not peeling it. This is a utensil to show that the peel,
to show
that
you-
it had been peeled. It's showing that this peel is off the fruit.
Yeah. So he also, I think, he's saying the membrane, not the whole white. He's not saying that the whole white.
Just
Yeah, just the membrane.
Okay,
Mhm.
so we're all on the same page.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah, should go.
And we're all saying that's possible.
And that's what I have on those. Okay.
It's possible.
And this other, I don't think we got to this other one yet. I'm not sure. Just tell me if I'm in the wrong place. Where are we here?
That drug there, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was like the first day.
No, but
That
the
was
second
amazing.
day, you're allowed to have chassid. No.
They say that this is someplace over here.
This is Am Yuto Kasher.
What is that in the bottom? Could you make it a little bit higher?
Am Yoter Kasher Lo Shanu El B'Makom Echad.
It's not chazazis. He's talking about he made this to be chazazis. Rashi says chazazis is some kind of a babu or some kind of a blisters. So I don't know what he made to show.
Okay, here's in 2 or 3 places.
Okay.
And this is more than half, I guess.
I don't know what he did. I don't think he found these esrogim. I don't know what he meant to show. Okay.
And then
Good.
here's, what is this?
On the top part of the esrog, on the chotem, on the top part of the esrog.
Okay, I guess is this a black one or a dry one? I'm not sure.
You know what? I don't like to say the pictures.
Oh, these are black esrods maybe? I don't know. Looks
I don't-
weird.
I
Haven't a
don't know.
clue what that is. Okay.
It's not, those are not esrogim. Okay, very good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yashikar, thank you. Okay, so we finished the Mishnah, we're up to the next page. Tanraban, the first Gemara, as I did earlier about a lulav and by Adasim, that it's going to say, Pshat, how do we know that a Priyat Hadar is an esrog? Means, Priyat Hadar will say means, nowadays they say Hadar is citrus fruits. I don't know if that's the real, could be that's a modern word. I don't think that that's really sourced. And the Gemara wants to know, a remez, that a Priyat Hadar, which means a fruit of a tree, that's beautiful. So how do you know that it's referring to an esrog? So the Rambam and others, they say that there's no question, and we can say it on our own also. There's no question when Moshe Rabbeinu came down from Har Sinai and he said, take a Priyat Hadar, Kappas tomorrow. He surely said what it is. And the purpose of the Gemara is only to find the remez, some kind of hint how you could see that Torah Sheba'al Peh is hinted in the Torah Shebiksav. But not that we didn't know what it is until these drushes. Means we didn't extract the fact from this psukim. We knew the facts, but the question is, do you see any hint in the pasuk that that's what it is? Do you know that? What's the hint to say that a Priyat Hadar is an esrog? Tan Rabbana, Priyat Hadar, Eitz Tam Eitz Priyat Shav. The fact that it says pre-eitz, so it means that the pre and the eitz are very similar. That the taste of the wood is similar to the taste of the fruit. If anybody has any experience with this, if anybody has an esrog tree or possibility to taste the bark, taste the wood, I don't know. Here it says that it tastes similar. But the almost esrog. Esrog has that quality that the wood is similar to the fruit.
We
And
said
therefore,
that by Hadas.
we said about that's what there's a problem. We're not talking about the tree over there. Anaf Eitzavos, we're not talking about the tree, we're talking about Anaf Eitzavos. Over there, Rav Manuel told us that some of the Girsa Eitz Tam Eitzo Anaf of Shabbat. That was a nice Girsa. Okay, so here it says that it's, and also the Gemara is not going to say maybe it's Hadas because the tree of the Hadas, those berries, it doesn't seem that would be a choice. That's an Israel. That's the end of the drush. That's the first drush. We're gonna have a couple of more later on, but until the Gemara gets there, the Gemara interjects that maybe there's something else that also has the quality of tasting the same as the fruit, and maybe that's what it creates. So there is not an esrog. Pepper also has the same thing that the fruit tastes like the wood. Kiratanya. And we had this Gemara in Brachos, and here the Gemara is bringing it to ask a kasha. Maybe that's what it creates other is. It says, when it collates, any of the issue eats machol, but that's talking about orla. And it says if you come to Eretz Yisrael and you plant a tree, and you shouldn't eat it for the first 3 days. If it says that, don't eat it for the first 3. Thank you for the first 3 years. Don't eat it for the first 3 years. The fact that it says don't eat it, obviously it's talking about a fruit tree. Or else it says you can't eat it. So the pasuk doesn't have to say and you'll plant a fruit tree. Even if it would have said and you plant a tree and don't eat it, obviously it's a fruit tree. So how come it has to say a fruit tree again? Since it says if it would have said you'll plant any tree, will I not know that it's a fruit tree? I'll show you would have done because the pasuk continues, don't eat it for 3 years. Why does it have to speak out if you plant a fruit tree? To tell you that there's a kind of a tree that the tree itself tastes the same as the fruit. That's why it says eitz machol, that the tree itself tastes like the food. And what is that? It doesn't say esrog. Is a pilpulin. The pasuk wanted to hint to you that pepper is also chayv and orla, and the Gemara over there in Brachos learns out that it's edible as is, not only as a spice, because spices are not chayv and orla, but that's the Gemara over there that pilpulin are edible. What do you see? That pilpulin chayv and orla. Rashi says the chiddush is don't think that it's a bush and it's not a tree. No, it's a tree and it's chayv and orla. And it's Yisrael Chasei Rekum. That's another point that you see that Eretz Yisrael also has pilpulin. All is only the pasuk is talking about when you come to Eretz Yisrael and you plant eitz machol. So it's talking about Eretz Yisrael planting a pilpulin. You have pilpulin in Eretz Yisrael. Everybody knows that pilpulin doesn't grow in Eretz Yisrael. It only grows in Kush. I don't know that, but it says that in the Midrash that really it doesn't grow naturally in Eretz Yisrael. But the chiddush is that Eretz Yisrael even has that.
We did know that there's pepper trees in Israel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but the Midrash.
Black.
The Medrash says that Shlomo Melech, he knew the source of every,
Source of every tree.
even those that only grow in Kush lovers, but everything is sourced in Eretz Yisrael, and he was able to know where to plant that tree that only grows in Kush. Nothing's missing in Eretz Yisrael. But anyway, what do you see? that pilpulin also has the characteristic that it's Sameh Superior Shavas. How do you know that a Priya Soda means an esrog, even though we say creates, that it tastes the same, but pilpulin also does. Maybe that's why you're supposed to take
Pick it up, right?
Priya
You
Soda.
can't hold it.
My answer is Mishum Delo Efsher, because it's not possible to use it for a Priya Soda. You're just going to take one what would you call it? One berry.
Garin.
One garin, one berry, that's not going to be nicker. It's you don't see it even. It's called that you took it. And what are you going to do to take a couple? Ninko triat losa. It says creates only one. You're not supposed to take more than one. And taking one garin of pilpul wouldn't be noticeable, and taking many is taking more than one. So it's impossible that it means that pilpul, and it must mean the esrog. So far, we only have two things of all the trees that have Eitzel Piri Shava, only esrog and pilpul, and it can't be pilpul, and it must be esrog. That was the first Russia to know if Eitzel is an esrog. Second Russia, top line Rabbi Yom, I think Hadar El Hadir. The word Hadar could be read as deer. Deer is like a corral of animals. Just like when you go to the corral, you'll see big animals, small animals, whole animals, blemished animals. The esrog tree has the same quality. You have big esrogim, small esrogim, whole esrogim, blemished esrogim. But the one says every tree is like that. Only esrogim, any kind of tree, apples, oranges, whatever you want. Every tree has that. Other trees don't have that. That doesn't do anything specific about esrog.
They push away the idea.
What?
Meaning they're pushing away the idea.
The Gemara is editing it, to explaining it. That it means that when the new small ones come, the old big ones are still here. That means that the esrog doesn't fall off the tree, and when it comes the new crop and the new ones start growing small, the last year's big ones are still on the tree. And that's the characteristic that an esrog has that other trees don't have. Other trees,
It's over from year to year. It can go from 1 year to
that's what it says. That if anybody has any experience here, it says that they don't fall off from year to year.
Isn't that true for pigs? Pigs go at different times. Pigs,
That's what it is saying here. But here we're talking about from year to year. Abavo Amar. Some take out the words of Abavo. Maybe it's continuation of the Brisa. I'll take Hador, Ella, Hador. Davar Shador Vilano Mishana Lashana. The same idea that it stays from year to year, but not from the word deer. Before we pashkin deer means like a corral, and it was comparable to a corral of animals. But now we're saying door that it lives. What does it mean? It lives. It continuously lives. It lives in the tree from year to year. It doesn't fall off. So another drush on the word hador, hador. And as I I'll take hador ella, something like hidor, hador, idor, hydro. Shekem v'losh nibani kalamayim hydro. That the way you say water in Yavani is hydro. The way we say also hydro. Ezo he goes kalmayim heavy omer as esrog. Which fruit needs a lot of water? That's an esrog. So we have 4 pshatim to have for a Muslim to say that a Priya Soda is an esrog. The first one was creates a kind of a fruit that the tree tastes the same as the fruit. That's an esrog. Can't be propylene, and it must be an esrog. Second one is deer, and then the third one is door, and the fourth one is like hydro, something like that. So the second and the third something to do with the fact that the esrog lasts from year to year, it doesn't fall off, and therefore it's like a corral or that it lives. Door mishana l'shana. And idor is a lotion of water, a tree that needs a lot of water. And it seems esrog is exceptional in that it takes a lot of water. The Mishnah continues.
Yeah, I don't understand the word hydro. Where are you finding the word hydro?
In Hadar. Where do I see it in the Gemara?
Oh, interesting.
The Gemara
Yeah.
has like idor, and then they also change it on the side to hidor with a hey. And we know Lashon Yivani, that we know that in our language, that we got it from the Greek, whatever, Latin, that we see also in our languages also that the word hydro means water.
Yeah,
Oh, HY, hydro. Thank you.
any one of those 5 include beauty?
No,
None of them.
nobody
That
said,
whole thing
nobody,
about the
no-
Hadar, none of
nobody
it.
says that the reason why it's esrog is because it's the most
That's
beautiful.
really not true. That's not.
It could be that it's true, but
No, but it's not. Even though
right.
for us you see a beauty.
yeah, the Gemara doesn't say that the reason why we know that it's an esrog is because it's the most beautiful.
It's not mentioned
It
as
says
one.
that it's and even the Pshat the Gemara is saying is that it should take a pre-AIDS, which is hold on, take a beautiful one. Pick out a beautiful one.
Right.
And that the Gemara said it shouldn't be Yavesh and all the other
Right.
things we said now.
But
okay.
It's not given by the Gemara as one of the reasons why it was chosen to be the one.
You might find a different beautiful fruit that in essence is beautiful. He was saying that it should take, they take a beautiful one, but which one? That it doesn't say. Shalashev Shalini Dachas, puzzle. And that we had already before. I'm not sure why the Gemara repeats it again. My time, because it is supposed to be burnt, so therefore the shear is considered cut up and you have no shear. probably it's someone might take that. Anybody might take out the gears because we had it already in the beginning, and the Gemara didn't mention it already by Dasman and Arovas. No reason to mention it over here. I imagine that there'll be some take out this gear. So, okay, fine, right there. So now the Gemara is up to Shel Orla, top line, Shel Orla Pasal, and we didn't know why. My timeout. Why is Orla Pasal for an Esrei?
Well, we're in Lamed Beis already?
We're in Amud Aleph.
I don't know.
Lamed Hey Amud Aleph.
I don't need
Lamed Hey
I'm
Amud Aleph.
watching things.
My timeout.
Thank you.
Pligi bar Pia bar Avin bar Bas Machlok is Amud Ram. Chad Amud Lefi Shein Bater Achila, Chad Amud Lefi Shein Bar Din Mam. One says because it's not mutter to eat it, and one says because it doesn't have any value. So Rashi says both of them are going with the word lachem, lukachtem lachem. And what does lachem mean? One says it has to be able to eat it. It has to be mutter to eat it. Or you're not allowed to eat. The other one says because it has to have value, and it has no value because it's also banal. Or you're not allowed to benefit from. Not only can you not eat it, you also may not benefit from it, so it has no value. It's not shabbat. And lachem means it should be yours. This means it should be valuable to you. If it has no value, it's not called lachem. Because the Gemara thinks at first glance that these two opinions are exclusive. Each one doesn't hold the other one. The one who holds they have to be able to eat it, that's all you need. The whole criteria is be able to eat it, even if you don't own it. And it doesn't have any value. The other one says it has to have value, even if you may not eat it. If that's true, the Gemara is a kasha, because we're going to show that surely it's not going to be possible just because that's the way we're going to go. That if you cannot eat it, the Gemara is going to show if you cannot eat it, it's surely possible. Tanan, we learned in the Mishnah, shall truma tmeya possible. The Mishnah says right after this, it says truma tmeya is possible. Truma tmeya, you're allowed to benefit from. You're just not allowed to eat it. If the problem is that you're not allowed to eat it, so it makes sense because you're not allowed to eat truma tmeya. Shampir, it makes sense why it's possible because you can't eat it. But if you hold the whole criterion is only it has to have value, truma tmeya has value. Amai, why is it not possible? Why is it possible? You're allowed to burn it. You're allowed to use it for fuel. It has value. So you see that the fact that you can't eat it is enough reason why it's possible. So the Gemara goes back and explains differently than we thought till now. Till now we thought that they were exclusive reasons. One says everything's totally just in eating it. The other one says only having value. Now the Gemara says no. Everybody else you have to be able to eat it.
Excuse me. Right now, are we saying that orla is something that you cannot burn?
Not that you cannot burn. You cannot benefit from burning it. You cannot use it as fuel.
You cannot use it as fuel. Yeah.
Allah is also banal. Not only are you not allowed to eat it, you're not allowed to benefit from it. But
so isn't that a separate reason? I'm a little lost here.
Again, the Gemara has two reasons, but the Gemara thinks that each one is exclusive. It's meaning that the one who says you have to be able to eat it holds that's all you need, even if it's not worth it.
That each one is exclusive. Okay.
The one who says that you have to be valuable is even if you cannot eat it. So the Gemara is asking, Truma Tmeya is valuable even though you cannot eat it. So why is it possible?
But behind Leib's question is, yes, the Rebbe said already, if you look at Rashi, that says Lafi She'ein Ba Heter Achila, and the next one Lafi She'ein Ba Din Mammon, they're both learned out from Lachem. Orla is not yours to use, whether it be Mammon or Achila. It's not yours.
So the Gemara Machlokes, if the issue of Lachem is to say that you cannot eat it, if you cannot eat it, it's not called lachem, or the point is that it doesn't have any value. That's why it's possible and it's not lachem. And the Gemara is asking if he does hold that it has to be valuable, so truma tmei is valuable. So why does the Mishnah say that it's possible? It has value. You're not allowed to eat it, but it's valuable. So the Gemara now realizes that everybody holds you have to be able to eat it. That's what the Gemara says. Now Ella, the first last word on the line is Ella. Better achilu kamala pligi to be on. Everybody holds you have to be able to eat it, and therefore if you can't eat it, like truma tmei, it's surely possible. Keep pligi within mama. The Machlokes says that you also have to have value. One man says all you have to do is to be able to eat it. If you can eat it, it's called lachem and it's kosher. You can use it for an esrog, and even if it's not valuable. The other one says you also have to have value also. So everybody else, if you can't eat it, it's possible. Anything you're not allowed to eat is possible. So therefore, all is possible, and truma tmei is possible. You can't eat all these things, but there is something that you're allowed to eat, and it's not yours, and it doesn't have any value, and that's going to be the machlokes now, if that's kosher or not. My benayu, what's going to be a case of a machlokes? Ikibenayu, ma'aseh sheni should be Yerushalayim, Aliva D'Rav Meir. Ma'aseh sheni again means that you tithe your produce. A tenth goes to the Levi, truma goes to the Kohen, tenth goes to the Levi, and then another tenth you're supposed to take to Yerushalayim, and it's Kodesh, only allowed to eat it in Yerushalayim. Not only you can give it to anybody, but It has to be eaten in Yerushalayim. Is it called that it belongs to us? The Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim, out of Yerushalayim, you're not allowed to eat it. But in Yerushalayim, is it called that it's yours? You're surely allowed to eat it. But there's a machlokes if it's considered your money. Rashi brings down, are you allowed to use it to marry a woman with? Could you give a Shabbat Fruta and say, is it yours or not? So there's a machlokes. Rabbanan say, yes, it's considered your money. But Rameir says, no, it's Hashem's money, Hashem lets you eat it. Mishulchan Gavoah like that. Yeah, that you're taking, Hashem is inviting you to a stable to eat the Ma'aser Sheni, but it's his. He didn't give it to you. And if you gave it to a woman and said, yeah, you are hereby married to me, she's not married because it isn't your money. So there's a machlokes that Ma'aser Sheni is yours. Again, you're surely allowed to eat it, but it's a machlokes Rameir and Rabbanan if it's considered your money. Now the Gemara is going to say that this will be dependent if you're allowed to be Yotzei with the Esrog of Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim. According to if all the criteria is they should be able to eat it, you're allowed to eat it, so it's kosher. But if you hold that it has to belong to you, Rav Meir holds that it doesn't belong to you. You're allowed to eat it, but it doesn't belong to you.
Because it's Ma'aser Sheni?
Yes,
Yeah, but you can.
you could eat it, but that's all you can do. You could eat it, but Hashem is telling you could eat my food.
I could change it with somebody else's Ma'aser Sheni or somebody else's food. I could take my Ma'aser Sheni and give it to somebody to have a nice meal with my Ma'aser Sheni food, and he'll give me a bottle of wine, or he'll give me I'll buy something. He'll give me something for its worth. So yes, it is mine. I can barter with it.
It's still not called yours. It's called that. First of all, what he did might be that yours became Ma'aser Sheni and his became not Ma'aser Sheni. I'm not sure if you're talking about that you're machal of it, but if you're not switching with somebody in a case that it's not considered selling, so it's all Hashem's, and he's saying that you're allowed to switch, like two guests at a table that they're switching around, but it's all belongs to the Baal Bayis maybe. So here it says Hashem says I didn't give it to you. I let you eat it, but I didn't give it to you. So if you hold that it's only kosher esrog lachem, only if you own it, if it belongs to you, Ma'aser Sheni doesn't belong to you. That's what the Gemara says. My benai, just see the words in it again. My benai, well, we have machlokes between these two mandamrim. Yikivanai Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim according to Rav Meir. The mandam lefi shein b'heter achila. If the whole criteria is that if you can't eat it, it's not called lachem. Harayesh b'heter achila. You're allowed to eat it, so it's kosher. But the mandam lefi shein b'din mammon Ma'aser Sheni Ramu Gavoah. If you hold that if you don't own it, if it's not valuable, so then it's not called yours. The quarter not called yours. According to Rav Meir, Ma'aser Sheni is considered Hashem's money, and therefore you wouldn't be yotzei. So it comes in machlokes. If according to Rav Meir, you could use Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim for an esrog. So Topar in the beginning said there was Rav Chia. I've got the names exactly. Let's come up again. Who were the names? Rav Chia Bar Ravin and Rav Basi. Top line. So the said one says this, one says that. We didn't know who says what. To find out who says what. Who's the man there? Testayen, just a little bit further up. Top line, Testayen, the Rabasi, who's the Amar Lefishen Badin Moment. I'll bring you a proof that Rabasi is the one who says that you also have to be able to own it. And according to Rav Meir, it's not going to be Yotzei. Dam Rabasi, Esrog Shal Ma'aser Sheni, the Rav Meir, and the Yotzei V'Yedei Chavos B'Yom Tov. It says openly that Rabasi is the one who says, according to Rav Meir, not Yotzei with the Esrog of Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim because you don't own it. The Rebbe Chachamim are the Yotzei V'Yedei Chavos B'Yom Tov. According to Rabban, you do because you own it according to them. It's your money. But according to Rav Meir, it's not your money. And they see, Rabasi is the one who says you have to be able to own it. According to the other Mandama, as long as you could eat it, it's good enough. And even Rav Meir will say that it's kosher. So with this time, it's a good proof. We figured out that Rabasi is the one who says that you have to own it in order to be lachem. Top line, Gufa. The Gemara is going to quote what I just said and also bring other applications of this yisod. That's something that is Ma'aser Sheni. According to Rav Meir, is not yours and it has other applications besides Esrog according to Rabbi Yasi. Amar Rabasi, Esrog Shal Ma'aser Sheni, Divrei Rav Meir, Ein Ladi Motzei B'Dei Chavos B'Yom Tov, Divrei Chachamim Adam Yotzei B'Dei Chavos B'Yom Tov. This was just quoted a second ago. That Rabasi says that an Esrog of Ma'aser Sheni, according to Rav Meir, not Yotzei, even in Yerushalayim, because it doesn't belong to you. And according to Chachamim, you could because it belongs to you. But it says now another two applications of this principle. Matzah Shal Ma'aser Sheni, also in Yerushalayim. Could you be Yotzei the mitzvah of Matzah and Pesach with Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim? Does it have to belong to you? It seems it has to belong to you. And Rav Meir says it doesn't. The Divrei Rav Meir Ein Ladi Motzei Chavos B'Pesach because it doesn't belong to you. The Divrei Chachamim Ladi Motzei Chavos B'Pesach because it does belong to you. The Gemara is soon going to ask, where do you see a matzah has to belong to you? But that's going to be the truth. Matzah has to belong to you in order to be Yotzei. And Rav Meir says it's not yours. You're allowed to eat it, but it doesn't belong to you. Since it doesn't belong to you, not Yotzei. And the last application is Isa Shel Ma'aser Sheni. First white line. The Divrei Rav Meir P'tur Menachala. The Divrei Chachamim Chayav B'Chala. Dough, which is a Ma'aser Sheni, is it Chayav and Chala or not? So again, you only Chayav and Chala if it's yours. If it's not yours, it's not Chayav and Chala. So Rav Meir will say you Pater from Chala because it doesn't belong to you. You have a dough that you made of Ma'aser Sheni, wheat, and are you Chayav and Chala? Rav Meir says no because it doesn't belong to you. It belongs to Hashem. It lets you eat it, but it's not yours. The Divrei Chachamim Chayav B'Chala because they hold that it does belong to you. The Gemara is going to be bothered. Where do you find that Matzah has to belong to you? It doesn't say in the Torah. It doesn't say Torah lachem. By Esrog it says lachem. And we're going to see by Challah also it says it has to be yours. But by Matzah it doesn't say it has to be yours. So why are we saying that according to Meir not Yotzei? Matzah Chavav Papa, second white line. By the dough that talks about the Chiv of Challah over there, it says from the first of your dough. Ariso Seichen. Ariso Seichen means your dough. That Chafmeh means it's yours. So only if it's your dough. If it's not your dough, you're not Chayiv and Challah. And the Meir says, my Sheni is not yours. Esrog Namik, Lachem, Mishal Lachem, fine. Ukachtem Lachem has to be yours. If it's not yours also, you're not Yotzei the mitzvah of Esrog. And we say here now that it means it has to be not only mutter to eat, it has to be also your money. Ela matzah, mixu matzaschem. Where does it say that has to be your matzah? It doesn't say in the pasuk matzaschem. It doesn't say that. It just says matzah. So who says you have to own the matzah? The Gemara is going to say yes. It does. There's the drasha to say that has to be your matzah. Amar Rabba Bashmul v'tem Rabbi Yema Bashlamya Asher Lechem Lechem. It's a zera shava link between here, between matzah and by challah. Now we're going to say that there's a similar word that it says by matzah and it says by challah, and we're going to learn out that also it has to be yours. By matzah it says the mitzvah is lechem oni. By the mitzvah of challah it says also says lechem. So that's the mitzvah where it says to take off challah. That's like over there that only if it's yours, and if it's not yours, you're not chayv challah. My sheni, let's say, according to Meir, is not yours. So too, by matzah, it's only you have to has to be yours. So it comes out, very interesting point, people maybe don't know it, that matzah has to be yours. When you eat by somebody else, for the seder, the reason why you answer the matzah is because he's giving it to you. But if he wouldn't give it to you, he would say, it's my matzah, but I'm just letting you eat it, but it's really mine. So then you're not yotzei. It has to be that he's giving it to you. And here the Gemara made a machlokes, if my shesheni in Yerushalayim, is it yours or not? According to Rabbi Meir, it's not yours. So the main chiddush of the Gemara was, as far as Esrog goes, is that it's not so simple that it has to belong to you. It does say lachem, but maybe it's enough that you could eat it, even if it doesn't belong to you. And Rabbi Yassi is the one who says it has to belong to you also, and my shesheni doesn't belong to you, and therefore you're not yotzei. According to Meir, my sheni doesn't belong to you, so you're not yotzei.
For that reason, Rabbi, a lot of people, when they say they're not, they like to bring their own matzahs.
You know such people?
Yeah. They bring their own. They dafka bring their own matzahs.
Uh-huh.
I think that's because just because it's expensive.
Right, that's what I thought. It used to be.
I think it's expensive, or some people want to have their own 3 matzahs, which is a different Inyan, but they bring their own matzahs because they want to have their own lechem mishnah or something.
Uh-huh. Okay, but here it says that if you are taking from somebody else, it has to be that it becomes yours, that he's giving it to you.
Now, I would imagine that that's the same thing on Sukkot as well. Maybe for the challahs on Sukkot, and because there's the connection between Sukkot and Pesach.
No, by the mitzvah of eating in the sukkah, it doesn't have to belong to you.
It doesn't.
No.
Remind me of what they talk about the first kazayis.
So it doesn't have to belong to you.
Yeah, the first kazayis is the same as we learned it out from Pesach. From matzah, from achilas matzah, we learn out the mitzvah of eating the first kazayis in the sukkah. It's the same thing.
So I don't think Gemara does make a drasha sometimes to make the link between the night of Pesach and the night of Sukkot, but we had that drasha before. But I don't think that it's open to everything. We're not going to say everything applies. We're not going to make a two-way street between the two for everything. I don't think there's such a din that has to belong to you. Even if the matzah does have to belong to you, I don't think that the kazayis that you're eating in the sukkah has to belong to you. I don't think there's such a din. But there is a din that the esrog has to belong to you. And now we're talking about does it mean belonging to you? Does it mean they have to be able to eat it? Or it even has to belong to you monetarily? It's interesting. Everybody holds that a borrowed esrog is not good. That we saw that a borrowed esrog is not good. And over there, you can't eat it either. It's not yours to eat. But if someone will give you permission to eat it, maybe it's not enough. You have to also be able to own it. Or you have to be yours according to Rabasi. The Gemara says, Leima Misayeh Yolei. Let's bring a proof to Rabasi, who said that it's not enough that you're able to eat it. It has to be that you own it. It says, it says here, this mamish what he said, that is Ma'aser Sheni dough, chayv and challah or not. Here it says, Rameir says it's potter. And the Chachamim say that it's chayv. What does that mean? That you see, according to Rameir, it's not called yours because it doesn't belong to you. We know Rameir says that my sheni doesn't belong to you, and here it says that therefore you're potter from challah because the only chayv and challah that belongs to you. So it's a proof to Rabasi. The Gemara says, Leima Messiah Le. The Gemara makes it sound very hesitant. Let us say that it's a proof. Of course, it's word for word. It says openly over here that according to Meir Potem Chala, that's what Rabasi said. So why are you only saying, let us say that it's a proof? You should have said, Hani Nami Yachi. The Gemara says, Ela Medahacha Pligi Baha Nami Pligi. Odilma Shami Yisa Damakroi Visasechem Visasechem Trezimni. It's true that as far as Chala goes, no question that Chala has to, that only Chayim and Chala belongs to you. The fact that you're allowed to eat it doesn't make you Chayim and Chala. That's true. And maybe Matzah also, the Zerah Shava. But the question is by Esrog that it doesn't say, it says Lachem. What does Lachem mean? So that was Machlokas. Maybe Lachem just means you have to be able to eat it. It doesn't mean that it has to belong to you monetarily. So that the Gemara is not convinced. That's only Layman Masayah, because Rashi says, the Gemara says, that maybe by the Chala, that here it says openly that it has to belong to you. That's only because it says the word I was to say 2 times. It has to be yours. It says the word 2 times. Maybe if it would have said 1 time, we just would have said if you could eat it, Yechayiv and Chala, not if you have to own it. But the fact that it says 2 times over there, we learn out that even has to belong to you also. But by Sukkot, it only says 1 time Lachem. It doesn't say 2 times. So maybe by Sukkot, it's enough that you could eat it, not after that you have to own it also. So the Gemara leaves that open. It comes out that we paskin maybe that it's enough to have a heter achila. Agav, the Rambam paskins like Rav Meir that Ma'aser Sheni does not belong to you. But he says anyway, you also with the esrog of Ma'aser Sheni because you don't have to have the monetary value. It's enough that you're allowed to eat it. So Rambam says that Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim, you are, you'll say even according to Rav Meir because you're allowed to eat it. Just to sum up that sugya, it says in the Mishnah that Orla is not good, and also Truma Tamei is not good. The Gemara came out that everybody holds you have to be able to eat it, and if you can't eat it, Lachem, you're not Yotzei. And therefore, Orla, Truma Tamei, both of them you can't eat. And the question will be, if you have a case where you may eat it, but you don't own it because it doesn't have any value, which would be the question of Ma'aser Sheni in Yerushalayim according to our mayor, that doesn't belong to you, belongs to Hashem, that will be a machlokes if you Yotzei, or it's enough the fact that you're allowed to eat it. The Mishnah continues about Truma Tamei. Most of the Gemara we know already, based on what we learned, but the Gemara is going to fill in all the blank spaces, plus there's some news that we didn't have yet. Truma Tamei Psula. Why that? We said already why Truma Tamei is possible, because you can't eat it. That's better Achila, even though you're allowed to benefit from it, but you can't eat it. If you can't eat it, it's surely not called Lachem. Shall Truma Torah lo yito? This we didn't have yet. How come Lachatchila, Truma Torah, you're allowed to eat, you're allowed to benefit from it? So why should Lachatchila, here it says Lachatchila b'di'evet. For some reason Lachatchila don't take Truma Torah for the mitzvah of Esra. Why not? How come Lachatchila you shouldn't take Truma Torah? One says because you make it vulnerable to Tumah. Hechsha means you make something vulnerable. What does that mean? That no food can become Tameh only first that has contact with water. And when you take the esrog, for the mitzvah of esrog, it's very possible that's going to become wet. Why is that? Rashi brings down that people, at least in those times, they used to preserve the esrog, the lulav and the dasman and in water. After they finished the mitzvah, they would put it into water until the next day. And then when they would take it out and take it together with the esrog, it still might be wet. They didn't wait till it became dry. And the water that's on the lulav might come onto the esrog. What's going to happen? The esrog became wet. If the esrog became wet, now it becomes vulnerable to tumah, and it's closer to become tameh. We don't want truma to become tameh. So it's even a mitzvah to hold back that it shouldn't become muksha. It shouldn't become vulnerable to tumah. Surely not to be metameh yet, but even then, don't make it vulnerable to tumah. The fact that the esrog is going to become wet by doing the mitzvah of esrog with the lulav, you're very possible it's going to become wet. So you're going to make it vulnerable to tumah. We don't want that. So therefore, truma Torah don't use because you might make it muksha. The other one says mipnei shema afsida. Another reason is because by holding on to it the whole sukkah, so eventually it gets bumped up a little bit from your hands, and if it's truma, so then you're wasting the truma. The truma, you're not supposed to waste the food. And here, if you're going to be holding it the whole time for 7 days, so it's not going to be as good food. Part of the food is going to be wasted, and you're not supposed to be mafsid truma. My benai, well, we're not communicating between these two opinions. If you go on shekar Hashem, when you made that Hashem be truma, you declare that it's truma. This esrog you made to be truma. You could make any part of it truma. You can make the top, the bottom. And here he made the inside. He said the inside should be truma, but the outside peel should not be truma. So if he's gonna touch it, hold it, and it's gonna become banged up, the outside is not truma. Say there wasn't mafsid any truma. But as far as hechsher, it does become moshe. If the outside is gonna become wet, so the whole food became vulnerable to tumah, and the truma part inside is also going to become tameh if eventually a sheretz touches it or something. So if the problem is that you shouldn't be machshir the kabul tumah, this case also is going to become muksher the kabul tumah. So don't use such a kind of an esrog for the mitzvah either, because it's going to become muksher and eventually become tameh. Like if the problem is only because you're actually ruining the esrog, but here the outside of the esrog is not truma. I'm only going to ruin the outside, not the inside. The outside is chulin. The inside is going to be truma. And then it'd be mutter, it'd be allowed, even lachatchili, it'd be allowed to take such an esrog. So that's the chazal over again. Truma tahora, even though it's kosher, lachatchila don't take it. Why not? Because it's truma. You don't want to ruin it. There are two ways to ruin it. Either by halachically ruining it, making it tummy. That means that if it became mukshal a couple tumah, it's very possible that it's going to become tummy then, and therefore stay away from getting it wet. And the other one says the problem is that you're actually going to physically ruin it by holding onto it for 7 days, squeezing it, whatever, it might become ruined, the outside part of it. And the Gemara says, if you only made the inside truma, the outside never became truma, so then you wouldn't have the problem of being mafsid, you only have the problem of being machshirid. But the Mishnah says that if you transgressed and you took the truma for the mitzvah of Beser Gerah, you'll say, why? Because why not? We said the machlokes before, what's the criteria in order to be kosher? Everybody else has to be edible. It is edible. Truma Torah is edible. And the machlokes was also, yeah, you own it. Truma Torah, you do own. The Kohen owns it. Whoever owns it, owns it. It's only a question about Ma'aseh Sheni if you own, but Truma Torah you surely own. So therefore, you would be Yosei. Only the Chafila don't take it because maybe you're going to ruin the Esrog because Mafsida, Machshira, but if you took it, you surely Yosei. The Mishnah continues, V'shal Demai. If anybody has any questions, I hope it's coming out clear. If anybody has any questions or it doesn't make sense, please do speak up. V'shal Demai. So Demai we said was produce that Amoros gave to. We said that he tied, but we don't trust him. You have to tie it again. So you're not allowed to eat it l'chorah. So if you can't eat it, so you shouldn't be Yosei. My time to be still, why is it kosher? The answer is since it is possible to eat it. How is that? Because they say that a poor person is allowed to eat Demai. The whole din of Demai is only Rabbanan enactment, and they didn't prohibit a poor person from eating it. So therefore, everybody's eligible to eat it because everybody can become poor. It might be hard to become rich, but it's easy to become poor. Anybody can become poor. He just says, I hereby disown all of my property, and he becomes poor. So if he does that, he'll be able to eat the Demai also. Teshes points out that it doesn't have to be, the Gemara is a little bit more elaborate than it has to be. It doesn't have to be that you have to eat it yourself. If it's mutter for an ani to eat, it's kosher also. It's called heter achila if somebody could eat it. It doesn't have to be that you eat it. But the Gemara does say that even you could eat it yourself if you make yourself poor. So what does the Gemara say again? How come we sold that it's kosher? Because if you want, you could disown your property and you'll become poor and you'll be allowed to eat it. As the Mishnah is going to say right away, that your ani is allowed to eat the mai. Therefore, it's called yours because you are allowed to eat it. The Tanan, that you are allowed to feed the poor the mai or achsani. Achsani means something about the army, the quartering act that the people had to give food to the army. Some say Jewish army, some say Goyish army, and you see aniyim at least that you're allowed to give to Jewish poor, and since the poor are allowed to eat the mai, so Beisil says that it's called edible. Beishamai says no, he's not allowed to eat. He argues ani lo achol the mai the Tanan. The same issue we just said a second ago that you're allowed to eat the aniyim the mai. That's not Beishamai. Beishamai says you're not allowed to. Achilin is aniyim the mai versus asani the mai. Amiyavuna that time we learned in the Brisa. Beishamai says you're not allowed to. Beishamai yomim and achilin is aniyim the mai versus asanim the mai. Or Beisil omrim achilin is aniyim the mai versus asanim the mai. Beis Hillel says that you're allowed to, but Beis Shammai says you're not allowed to. So it comes out the machlokas of the Mishnah. If you yosei with the mai for the mitzvah of Esrog, depends if you're allowed to eat it. If ani is allowed to eat it, Beis Hillel says yes. Therefore, everyone's yosei, and Beis Shammai says not, and therefore you're not yosei with the mai. Same as tevel. Tevel is showing not yosei because you can't eat it. The Mishnah continued by Ma'aseh Sheni Yerushalayim, and it says in the Mishnah that you are yosei. Interesting, because the Gemara Anav said the machlokas. Reb Meir, maybe if you only have to own it, the money, so then according to Reb Meir, you don't own it. The Mishnah said that you are Yotze with Ma'aseh Sheni. And that's what the Gemara says. First of all, L'chatchila don't take it. That's simple. So Ma'aseh Sheni Yerushalayim, L'chatchila don't take. Why? Same as Truma Torah. The man dam v'nei shemachshira, Rabbi Machshira. The man dam v'nei shemachshira, Rabbi Machshira. Before the Gemara Machlokes, how come you L'chatchila shouldn't take Truma Torah? The same issue applies over here. That surely L'chatchila shouldn't take it, even though you're Yotze. But the L'chatchila don't take it because you might ruin it, you might make it vulnerable to Tumah. But if you took it, it's kosher. But not Shema. Why is that? Not so simple. If you hold that you have to be able to eat it, and that's all, and once you could eat it, it's called the lachem. So then, Reb Meir also would agree that you could take my sheni in Yerushalayim because you're allowed to eat it. But if you only have to own it, it has to be your money. Then only Rabbanan will say that you don't say. If you hold that in order to be lachem, it has to belong to you. So then the Mishnah that says that it's kosher is only according to Rabbanan and Reb Meir. But Reb Meir says it doesn't belong to you. Then you wouldn't be Yosei, according to Reb Meir, with my sheni in Yerushalayim. We'll just finish off and then review everything over again. But now that we have the facts, we could go to the Mishnah again. It's much simpler. For us to finish the daf, also the Mishnah said that if it got a blister on it, on Rubo, on most of the Esrog, then it's puzzle. And Miyuto is kosher. Amar Rav Chisda. That was Ben Gad Lama. The following thing Rav said: Amakam Yeh Bezro. Hashem should always be in his help. Whenever he gives him a bracha. Once he mentioned Rav, he gives him a bracha. What did Rav say? It's only the shear that says that the robe makes it possible is only if it's one place. It's all concentrated in one place. The way Rav Chisda said it, it will be spread out in 2 or 3 places, but no particular place has rove, only by combining all the few places together. So there's no one place where it has rove of a chazazah, so it's kosher. Amar Rava, Adrab, on the contrary, if it's spread out in a couple of places, it's spotted. The number means spotted, like an amer, it's spotted and it's puzzled. So how could you say that it's kosher if it's spread out in a few places? On the contrary, it's the reason why it should be puzzled. Rav Chisda's quotation should have been said on the end of the Mishnah. He's not coming to be Mekel, he's coming to be Machmir. The Reisha said rove is puzzled. Surely rove is puzzled. Now he's going in the Sefer. The Sefer says on the Yudah kosher that if this chazazis is only on the minority of the esrog, so it's kosher. And this Rav said, the following thing Rav said, he should be bench. Even when it's on the miyut, even when it's on the minority of the esrog, it also could be possible if it's going to be spread out in a few places because it's spotted, it doesn't look nice. If it's on the top of the esrog, the nose of the esrog, we'll see what that means. That it might mean the whole top of the esrog once it starts tapering off on the top. So then even a small amount, even not rov, even not miyut, even that shlosh makomos, any small amount is also going to make it possible. So if you have a chazazis on the top part of the esrog, it's also possible. So that's as far as we got. We'll stop here. Just to chaz over the halachas that we learned. If you go back to the Mishnah a second, that's now that we have. If you go back to the Mishnah, it makes it easier to read. The Mishnah said, okay, we have Gozel Yovesh that we know already. Oral is possible because you cannot eat it. Also happens to be that it's not worth anything. Chuma Tmei is possible because you cannot eat it. Chuma Torah Lo Yito because you might make it ruined, either by making it vulnerable to tumah or actually ruining it because you hold it for the 7 days. So Lachila don't take it. It's not kosher. If you did, it's kosher because it's yours. You could eat it. It belongs to you. It's usable. So it's valuable. Sheldamai is machlokes if Yosef Nabasham is possibly selling machshirin. Is it mutter for an ani to eat? According to Basil, yes. Therefore, it's mutter to eat even, and also it's valuable. Shalmai sheni b'Yerushalayim again. Lachila don't take because you might ruin it either physically or halachically make it tameh. And not al kosher because why? Not al kosher depends. According to the one who holds, all you have to do is be able to eat it. So you surely could eat it. But if you hold that, you have to be able to own it in order to be kosher. Then only the Mishnah is going to be Rabbana, that you own it. It's your money. But according to May, it wouldn't be kosher. You'd argue in the Mishnah because he holds that it doesn't belong to you. And the chazaz, if you just saw chazaz aruba, but if it would be even on the yuto, even when it says in the sefer that also chazaz is on the yuto is kosher, the Gemara said that it's only if it's in one place. But if it will be spotted, it's possible. And also if it's on the top of this, or with the chotem, also it's possible. Any Gemara that we left out?
Rebbe,
Even if it's less than possible, often it's possible.
We said that it's possible if it's spotted in a few places and if it's on the top of the esrog. Those are the two things that are possible. Even if it's miyuto, it's looking possible. If it's in 2 or 3 places, or if it's on the top. The Gemara also spoke about Ramazim, that you know that the esrog appears how there's an esrog, either because it tastes the same as the bark, the wood tastes the same as the fruit, or because door or deer that it stays from year to year, or that it's some hydro, something about water that means a lot of water. That's an esrog. And the rest of the Gemara we did about different criteria for either owning it, either being mutter to eat, or owning it. We went to that Gemara. The Gemara Agav came out also that matzah has to belong to you, and also chali only chayv and chalav belongs to you. All these things, according to Rabbi Meir, that holds that my sheni does not belong to you. So then it wouldn't be chayv and chalav, and you wouldn't be able to be also in the mitzvah of matzah. Zer Shabbat to challah. Bottom line, yes, please.
from the end of the sugya about chazazis, it sounds to me, I mean, what you see is that a lot of B'nai Torah are very makpid on the top third of the esrog, even about dots that aren't black and bletlock. But it sounds to me from the end of the sugya, unless it would be black, that even that on the top third of the esrog, dots and bletlock are nishkaferlik in halacha. Is that correct?
I'm not sure why you said a dot is a problem. Why are you concerned with a black dot?
Well, dots are only problems if they're black, because we see that black is always seems to be a problem by esrog.
Why is black a problem? Where do you get black as a problem? Why is that so simple that black is a problem?
Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I understood. We saw that a black esrog is certainly bad, but I understood that spots, if they're very dark, are something to worry about, but maybe maybe that's also nonsense.
Okay, so the question where all these things come from, because chazazis means some kind of a blister that you don't find on this road. We don't see the chazazis. The ones that come to the shuk don't have any blisters. So what the mission does say, we don't find by us. So what do we find? We find blatlach and we find black dots. So black dots they can't take from esrog akushi, and they say that it's called a black esrog, even a little bit. That's a big chiddush because it's not a black esrog just because it has a small dot. But the poskim, I didn't know. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Where did all this come from? Because it sounds like from Etzema Sugya that none of these things are problems.
No, again, the Gemara says chazazis. Now the question is anything else which is possible? If anything else is possible, so then there might be a difference if it's in one spot, if it's in Mio, the Rove, if it's in on the Chotem. If they're going to say that the black spot is a problem, or if you say blettel is a problem, if you say, now the question is, what is a blettel? Maybe a blettel is a chazazis. I don't know. They just made a word blettel. What's a blettel? That I got it from a leaf. Maybe that's what a chazazis is. I don't know. But if they assume that it's not, then there shouldn't be a problem even on top. But they're going to say that maybe let's say that's kosher, but they want still that on the top of the esrog is more noticeable. They want it to be more hadar. Not that they'll say it's possible. I don't think if a blettel is a problem, then if a blettel is a problem, so they'll say that it's only a problem if it's rove or 2 or 3 places or on the chotem.
All I know is one thing. I've been going to Chashva Poskim sometimes over the last 35, 40 years. And whenever I have something that looks like it's black on the top third, then I notice they pay extra attention and they don on it.
They must answer because they're assuming that black is a problem. But what's it going to be? It's not going to be worse than their chazazis. And therefore, it's only if it's rove or it's 2 or 3 places or it's on the top.
Right. But usually the question by them is, does it make it just kosher or is it still mahudr?
Okay. Good. So they're assuming, because the Gemara says that the Chotem is more sensitive, you see that some Psulim are more on the top than the bottom. So even the Hidurim also is more chashiv at the top Chotem than the rest of the Esrog. Makes sense that the Machmir more on the top because that's where it's more noticeable.
What is it, third? Is there any amount?
They talk about, Rashi says from where it starts tapering off.
Well, sometimes it's straight up to halfway.
Where did Rashi say? Let's see if I can see Rashi over here. Here's the Rashi. Chotmo. Ba'obi govo shemeshapeh misham v'yored l'sad rosho. The top, where it starts tapering off towards the tip. Maybe it'll be in the post. We'll talk more about the Chotem might be. Okay, Yashikoch, we got in about a minute or two. Yashikoch Hachem. Thank you.